I said to you earlier that I could guarantee you as a lawyer 100% protection against losing a lawsuit if you have a policy and training. Well, that's, of course, the assumption here is that it's effective and it's done. What ended up happening is that even if you have a person who's a jerk in the workplace and just doesn't know how to behave, man or woman, supervisor or not, coworker as well, who just acts out and doesn't follow the policy, it then completely is on their shoulders. The employer gets a chance to step away and say, listen, I've done everything I possibly could. I trained them, I had a policy, I had all this stuff put together, but you know what? I don't have to protect against jerks. I've done everything I possibly could.
So basically, if the lawsuit or whatever had went forward, he would just basically be losing his job.
And financially, he could, of course, have a judgment against him. And what a lot of people don't know is here in New Jersey is that every judgment that you have against you stays with you for the rest of your life and becomes a lien against your real estate. So if, again, as an aside, if you had, let's assume your dog got away and bit somebody, and they didn't hurt the person, but they got a $1,500 judgment, you turn around and say, I'm not going to pay it. When you ultimately try to sell your house, that judgment is going to have to get paid because you're not going to be able to transfer your house without it. And you may say to yourself, well, geez, I don't own a house now. That may be true, but someday you may. And it'll automatically affix to the house just the way it would if you had a house at that time.
It also shows up on your credit score.
It also shows up on your credit score, for sure. You had a question?
We've had that here at the library where we've had people been fined for books, lost books, and then also they go for a mortgage, and it's on a mortgage. They can't get a mortgage.
Listen to me. I tell you one quick personal story. I was a college student. I went to Rutgers. My landlord, you know, we of course probably didn't turn the place back as nice as we should have, but the landlord. Now I'm gonna really date myself. My rent was $65 a month. Okay, but at the end of the term, the landlord said, "I'm not giving you the money back." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "No, I don't want to. I think there's some damage." Well, here I was as precocious then as I am now. Now they say it's aggressive because I have gray hair. Back then it was precocious. I took the guy to court. And I actually went to small claims court. I went there in my jeans and my T-shirt, and I wanted to argue the law. It was probably the beginning of what I wanted to be. And sure enough, the judge said, you have a judgment. 27 years later, I get a phone call from a lawyer who says, there's a judgment here on the books on this piece of property. You're owed $1,750 because there's interest.
Holy cow. Holy
cow is right. Holy cow. And so I got a check for $1,750 because that judgment stays with you. So I'm not surprised when you say things like and it doesn't matter how large or small it is. It just stays there. And that's the one great thing. You can just sit around, twiddle your thumbs, knowing full well that you get interest on it as well. So that part of it's terrific. Now that there's been a couple of questions, do you have any questions that I might answer for you? Sure.
We have a Facebook page here for the library that our department maintains. We look at it every day and we look to see what kind of comments are being made. There's never been any negative comments or anything like that. But I'm wondering, do we have the right then to take down any really vicious kind of stuff?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Again, I suggest to you that as a precursor, you put on your terms and conditions of the site. You know how everybody has that? You have a link to it. You don't have to, broadcast it. I mean, you don't have to have it in big, long. But somewhere on your site, it should definitively say that, the library reserves the right, in its sole discretion, to be able to, quote unquote, take down. Okay, to take down, and there's the language. Look. If you want to, I can email you the language after this is over, or you can go ahead and find it yourself on the web. But in essence, it says the library reserves the right, in its sole discretion, to take down, AKA remove, any posting that it deems to be inappropriate. And just use inappropriate. Okay, and that way, now, what does it do for you? Well, first of all, it gives you what we call in the law plausible deniability, which means, hey, I tried. That's number one. Number two is if you take it down and somebody has and the person who you've taken it down says, I'm going to get the library, I'm going to prove my case. At least when you go and the case gets heard, you are going to be able to stand up, or your lawyer will be able to stand up and say, listen, Judge, the library is a public site. Children go on it. Citizens go on it. It's not there. It's not a private enterprise. And we have a responsibility to the public to police this stuff. So I think what that does is it's going to give you a tremendous amount of goodwill as well, because it shows that you're acting responsibly. And judges like to see people who act responsibly. You know, they want to make sure that when people are about to get themselves in trouble, you know, it's like the person whose dog goes bite somebody else. And if you can come back and say, listen, Judge, I put a fence up. I put the dog on a chain. I did everything I possibly could. Judges like to hear that. They like to hear that you acted responsibly. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not on the hook, ultimately, because if your dog goes bite somebody, you're on the hook. But at least in terms of the damages, the judge says, hey, listen, these are responsible people. They've acted in good faith as far as that's concerned. Okay?